Hi, this is Charles. I've been asked to talk to you about digestive upset, indigestion, constipation, diarrhea, irritable bowel syndrome, and that sort of issue during anxiety disorders. Why does this happen? Why do people with anxiety disorders seem to experience so many digestive upsets? Well, the answer is very simple. The adrenal response, responsible for the flight or fight response, which is the anxiety response in humans, produces a number of physiological changes designed primarily to prepare the body for action in the flight or fight response. In other words, if a real danger is present, a real threat, the body becomes prepared to either fight or flee from that threat, the perceived threat. Obviously, in anxiety disorders, the perceived threat isn't really there. So in other words, although you may feel frightened, it's actually a false fear, because where there is no real threat present, it's impossible to feel real fear. So in anxiety disorder, we're perceiving threats that aren't really there. The body prepares itself in a number of ways during the anxiety response, primarily by priming the muscles for action. Now, another thing that happens during the anxiety response is the body has to become lighter in order to prepare itself for swift action, in other words, running away from a potential threat. And the way it does that is by evacuating the bowels and evacuating the bladder to remove fecal matter and urine from the body in order to make it lighter so that we can run faster. It's that simple. It's a very base reflex action of the body. It's something that has been in humans since the dawn of time, since we developed into upright human form. And it's something that, although inappropriate in modern life, has had massive importance at some time during our development, when we were being chased by wild animals, for example. So we've all heard the horrible expression, "I nearly shit myself," or "I nearly peed my pants." These horrible expressions, which are meant to explain the feeling that somebody had during an anxiety response when they felt particularly threatened, have actually got actual physical meaning and refer to something that happens to us physically during that response. So, what else happens in the digestive tract when we're anxious? Well, obviously, in the anxiety response, the muscles are primed, and the way they're primed is to divert fluids, in other words, water, through the blood, and also glucose and also oxygen in the blood to the muscles to fuel them. Also to divert moisture to the skin in order to cool the body down during the anxiety response. Now, what happens to the digestive tract during the anxiety response is that it shuts down, more or less slows down to almost a stop. And the reason it does this is to divert water away from it so that it can be used elsewhere. And water is vital in the digestive transit, but also so that the bowels can be evacuated, the bladder can be evacuated, and all of the digestive system, the digestive mechanism in our bodies that provides our body with fuel isn't needed at a time of extreme anxiety. So if you're faced with a threat, your digestive system can more or less close down because it isn't needed at that time. There are enough reserves of glucose and fluids and of oxygen in the body and provided by the lungs to allow the digestive system to close down. Now this causes a number of things. The systolic movement of food matter through our digestive tract slows to almost a complete standstill. The muscular contractions around our stomachs still carry on, but this serves to compact the food in our bowel, to cause gas, to cause acid upsets in our bowel and our stomachs. So the whole thing is very disrupted by the anxiety response, and as a result we can experience diarrhea, constipation, we can experience wind pain, acid indigestion, in other words heartburn in the upper digestive tract, and all sorts of other manifestations of the anxiety response within the digestive tract. Now this is very disruptive, it's obviously quite unpleasant, and the only way that anybody seems to be able to treat it when you go to the doctor or to a pharmacist to ask for help is by using things like diarrhea remedies, constipation remedies, things like antacids, which all serve a purpose but don't actually get to the core condition. And the core problem is that you've got high anxiety, inappropriate anxiety, that is causing all of this to happen. And because you have an anxiety disorder, which means that it's a constant process of high anxiety, the digestive tract and other mechanisms within the body become quite disrupted. And the problem with that is that there's a seesawing effect going on, where you eat, your stomach handles it in a certain way, you get symptoms arising from the upset, and then you have to handle those.